Well, everyone, fatigue. Anybody can experience adrenal fatigue? Hello everyone, this is Dr. Jawad. In this video I'm going to explain an important concept that I work with a lot of my patients, and that is adrenal fatigue. Okay, so what is adrenal fatigue? What are the adrenal glands? How does it work? Now, adrenal fatigue, again, if you're experiencing brain fog, if you're experiencing fatigue, if you're experiencing blood sugar issues, overall inflammation, females, if you have PMS issues, menopausal issues, or just overall hormonal issues, one of the systems that I look at is the adrenals, because when it comes to the body, it's like a domino effect. Okay, one system could affect the other, could affect the other, could affect the other. So if you're actually missing one of the organ systems on this line, then you're never going to get healed. So let's start off with, we have what's called the Hpa axis. Now in this video, I like to throw in the thyroid gland just for argument with this video. So the Hpa axis, it starts in the hypothalamus, which is your master gland, sends a signal to the pituitary gland, which then the pituitary gland will send a signal to the adrenal glands in this Hpa axis. So I do a little circle here. So again, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, it's inside the brain. So for the sake of the thyroid, so the hypothalamus sends a hormone, thyroid-releasing hormone, to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland sends a signal down to the thyroid gland, thyroid-stimulating hormone, so the thyroid gland can release its hormones into the bloodstream. Same way with the adrenal glands. So the hypothalamus sends a hormone, corticotropin releasing hormone, to the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland sends a signal down to the adrenal glands to release adrenocorticotropic hormones. Okay, so that's called the Hpa axis. Now, what are the adrenal glands? The adrenal glands they're the size of a quarter. We have two of them, and they sit on top of the kidneys, and those are our stress glands. Okay. And it's very they have a lot of functions to them. They have two layers. The outer layer, which is the cortex, they have different functions versus the middle layer, which is the medulla. So in the cortex, the outer layer, this is your mineralocorticoids. And again, aldosterone. And what it does, it regulates the sodium and potassium concentration in the bloodstream, which helps with blood pressure. So if you go from a seated to a standing, you feel kind of dizzy. Okay, aldosterone works with the kidneys to actually regulate blood volume, and then this is where blood pressure issues actually occur. So the regulation of blood pressure is not necessarily a lung issue or a heart issue, okay? It's a kidney issue, because the adrenal glands, which sits on top of the kidneys, sends a signal to the outer layer to release aldosterone, and so aldosterone regulates blood volume. Okay, and then the middle layer releases glucocorticoids. Now, glucocorticoids, again, glucose, corticoids is a steroids, is a sugar. And this is your stress hormone, okay? When you're stressed out, this will get your cortisol release. Also, too, if you have too much, it'll suppress your immune system. This is why you get sick if you're too stressed out. Also, too, regulates blood sugar. Glucocorticoids. Glucose is a sugar. So again, if you're too stressed out, you're going to have blood sugar issues. This is where you actually get belly fat by being stressed out. Okay? Also too, androgens. Androgens, though, there are sex hormones. DHEA. And DHEA is actually a precursor for the sex hormones, especially when it comes to the females, because when females go through menopause, the ovaries, which is their primary supplier of the hormones, they shut down. So the body makes a flip switch and gets the sex hormones through the adrenal glands. And now again, so if the females are having adrenal fatigue going into menopause, okay, this is where they get menopausal issues. So it's not necessarily a hormonal thing, it's actually an adrenal thing. And the inner layer, this is the medulla. The medulla releases what's called catecholamines. These are actually this is the adrenaline. This is the norepinephrine, epinephrine, and also too dopamine. Now, dopamine, again, dopamine acts on the brain. This is your motivator. This is your get up and go. This is your love drug. And this is why when you're so stressed out, too much adrenaline release actually suppresses dopamine. And this is where you get brain issues. Because dopamine is one of those hormones that works on the brain. Same with serotonin. Okay? Now, just keep in mind, all these hormones here, they're made from cholesterol. They're made from cholesterol, so this is where cholesterol is actually good for the body. So when people are taking cholesterol medications, any type of statins, this is where it actually affects their system downstream. Because if you're not producing cholesterol, and or if you're not taking enough cholesterol in the diet, this is how it affects the adrenal glands. So with the hypothalamus, again, there's a lot of things that could actually go wrong. Okay, there could be a couple things. You could have infection, it could be hormonal levels, it could be neurotransmitters, okay? You could have like a malabsorption syndrome. So the hypothalamus, okay? So how infection and also to inflammation, what happens, it blocks the receptors in our brain. So what happens, actually in the glands. So we have, for example, the hypothalamus sends a signal to the pituitary gland, and then we have receptor sites on the target tissue, on the gland, the adrenals. And what happens when you have infection, it actually blocks that signal. It blocks the receptor site. So this is where infections can affect the glandulars, the function of the glands. Also too, hormonal levels. Like for example, the thyroid, okay? If you have too much of one, you're going to have too little of the other. So this is how, again, this could affect the hypothalamus. Okay? Also neurotransmitters. Now, we need dopamine. That's our get up and go. But also dopamine is produced in the adrenal system, in the adrenal medulla. We get it that way. However, dopamine is actually made from an amino acid, L-tyrosine. So if you have like malabsorption, or if you're not taking in enough proteins, then this is where, again, it could all function downstream. And we need amino acids to produce this, to produce these dopamine, serotonin. Again, so if you have malabsorption, or if you're not taking enough quantities of protein, this is where the dopamine is not going to be produced. Also too, stress. Stress, if you have too much stress, it actually will increase the activity, and you'll get burned out. So what happens with the neurotransmitters, so this is a nerve. So this action potentials, so basically you have the presynaptic and you have the postsynaptic. And how neurotransmitters work is that there's a signal that's sent down the nerve, okay, in an action potential, and it goes to what's called the presynaptic membrane. And again, what happens is that the neurotransmitters, actually they help carry the signal across the nerve. It acts as a bridge. So if this signal comes on down, for example, I'm just going to use this in blue. Okay, the signal comes on down, it releases chemicals. The chemicals actually get carried by the neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, so forth and so on, to the postsynaptic membrane. Now, if you don't have enough neurotransmitters, then the signal is not going to actually be conveyed. And again, this is how it affects the adrenal system. So I hope you understand the video. Please share with a friend. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Hello, this is Dr. Jawad. Please subscribe to my channel for more up-to-date videos. And thanks for watching.